Ladies and gentlemen, as many of you know from experience, transformation, whether in the energy sector or elsewhere, is demanding and risky. It requires creativity, determination, a willingness to take bold moves. In other words, courage. Those qualities characterize both of the young guests we hear from next. It is no exaggeration to say that our first young keynote speaker has been serving as a vocal climate justice advocate for most of her life. A founding member of 350 Samoa since she was just 11 years old, she is the youngest winner of the prestigious Commonwealth Youth Award and the first ever youth ambassador of the Pacific Regional Environmental Program, fighting for the survival of her islands. It's a pleasure to hand over now to Brianna Fruin.
Talofa lava, and thank you very much for having me this evening. This morning for you all. My name is Brianna Fruin, and I'm a proud Pacific climate warrior from the island of Samoa. I wanted to start off with a very powerful proverb that I would like to share with all of you that in my culture goes, "A longo itai e longo I uta," which means what is felt at sea is felt on the land. Now, this is a lesson in connection and the ties we have with nature and with humanity. When natural disasters hit our islands, we all feel the brunt of it. That is the reality of living on the front lines of the climate crisis. Extreme flooding, drastic drought, prevalent coral bleaching, recent and frequent cyclones, and so much more is the constant reality for my people. I remember a couple of years ago during Cyclone Gita, I was back home in Samoa, and I was in one of the villages where I saw one of our chiefs with a sheet of paper in front of a group of children. And he was holding this and he was naming out names. He was taking a roll call. And it was jarring for me to see because I came to a realization that he was taking stock take of the children because the village was so scared that they may have lost someone in the floods of the night. If this is something that you have not seen before, village chiefs taking stock take of children, climate change has probably never broken your heart the way it has mine. If the climate crisis doesn't break your heart, you've probably never really seen its true impact. The climate crisis is a humanities one, it's a humanities issue, and it can only be solved by the power of humanity. The climate justice we need is more than just climate action. Climate justice ensures that the needs of people are put first, and in order to do this, we need a just transition to renewable energy, a transition that centers workers, communities, and civil society. We know that the climate crisis is an emergency which demands rapid and far-reaching action to transform our societies away from the reliance on fossil fuels to avoid some of the worsening impacts of climate change. But at the same time, the climate crisis is embedded within a global context of growing inequality, deep poverty, and significant unemployment. So we cannot talk about climate justice without addressing the intersections the crisis has with already existing global and social issues. That's why I can confidently say that Indigenous justice is climate justice. Racial justice is climate justice. Union justice is climate justice. Anything that puts people before power and profit is climate justice. And that is the only thing that my generation is fighting for. It's more than just action, it's justice. So I ask you that throughout this conference, throughout these conversations, as you think and discuss and act on what is needed to transition to renewable energy, that you remember people. After all of us are connected. We're all a part of humanity. And as my people say, a longo itai e longo iuta. What is felt at sea is felt at land. We are all connected.
Thank you so much to Brianna Fruan. And ladies and gentlemen, courage and determination enabled our second young keynote speaker to launch the Rise Up climate movement that is now amplifying African voices in the climate debate. An activist devoted to raising awareness of the dangers of climate change, she led the campaign Save Congo Rainforest and has also been instrumental in working with local schools in her home country, Uganda. It is a pleasure to welcome Fridays for Future's Vanessa Nakate.
Thank you very much. My name is Vanessa Nakate. I am from Kampala, Uganda, a country that has one of the fastest changing climates in the world. Historically, Africa is responsible for only 3% of global emissions, and yet Africans are already suffering some of the most brutal impacts fueled by the climate crisis. Rapidly intensifying hurricanes, devastating floods, and withering droughts. Many Africans have lost their lives, while countless more have lost their homes, farms, and businesses. The droughts and floods have left nothing behind for the people, nothing except for pain, agony, suffering, starvation, and death. I was asked to speak as a youth climate activist here at today's Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue. Brianna and I were initially each promised 5 minutes to make our remarks. The organizers of this event then cut our time to 4 minutes, then to 3.5 minutes. They also insisted on seeing the text of our speeches ahead of time. They also repeatedly instructed us not to name or shame leaders that would be taking part in this summit. You should not ask activists to come and speak at your events so you can feel better and then try to censor them. You should not slash the time you have promised them to tell their stories. It is the leaders who have failed us, not the young people. It is the leaders who have ignored the scientists and the science. It is the leaders who time and time again have failed to treat the climate crisis like a crisis. This is not naming and shaming. This is telling the truth. Why are you so afraid of hearing the truth? Did any of the political leaders speaking here today have to present their speeches for preview? Did any of them have their allotted speaking time cut by a third? And while people in Africa are suffering and dying on the front lines of the climate crisis, what is the main response from the leaders of the developed countries? More investment in fossil fuels. To the governments, banks, and investors who continue to fund the digging up and burning of fossil fuels in Africa. There is no future with the fossil fuel industry. Air pollution caused by the burning of fossil fuels, such as coal and oil, is responsible for killing almost 9 million people every year. And aside from the destruction you are causing, your investment does not even make financial sense. The International Energy Agency is predicting that $300 billion of fossil fuel assets will likely be stranded as the world wakes up to the threat of the climate crisis. The first rule when you find yourself in a hole is to stop digging. Many of the leaders gathered here today have received praise for announcing that humankind is facing a climate emergency. Now it's time for you to stop talking and start treating this crisis like a crisis. I ask each and every leader here today to stop censoring the voices of activists, to start listening to the scientists and the science, and stop investing in toxic fossil fuels now and immediately. We cannot eat coal and we cannot drink oil. Thank you.
Vanessa Nakate, thank you very much for your words. We have heard them, and you and Brianna have made very, very clear to us that the transition to cleaner energy systems, the process of decarbonization absolutely must be coupled with justice. So we will take your remarks with us as we discuss with policymakers. Thank you very much to both of you.